Welcome to Birth at Work, the podcast where we dive into the real, unfiltered stories of what it's actually like to navigate pregnancy, birth, and early parenthood while building a career. I'm your host, Krislyn Powell. Each episode, we sit down with working parents who share their honest experiences, the victories, the setbacks, the moments of doubt, and the strategies that actually work. Because let's be honest, most workplace policies weren't designed with pregnancy and new parenthood in mind. And it's time we talked about what that really means for the millions of us trying to grow families while growing our careers. Okay, I am super thrilled to talk about this topic today because I know that we talk a lot about what companies, workplace policies, villages, communities are lacking in providing support for working parents, especially working mothers. But I thought it would be helpful to share a little bit about just what I think birth with an ideal manager, like a pregnancy and postpartum and return to work experience, would look like with an ideal manager, an ideal leader, what that conversation could and would and should look like. Sometimes we talk about all of the ways that things need to be improved and why they're not right, but we don't always take time to visualize what it could be and how it should be. And I think visualization and positivity and being opportunistic is really important if we want to shape our future. And so just having those thoughts live within our heads instead of constantly focusing on what we're lacking can be really empowering. So yeah, I'm just in the mood to share something positive. And I also want to mention that as I'm envisioning this experience, and I might even cry, honestly, it's like it would be such a cool experience to live. I know that it's available to me at some point. And also, maybe I'm the one that gets to be this kind of leader or manager, which is so cool. And I'm also envisioning, so I have had some really amazing managers and leaders, but one in particular has been like, oh my gosh, I will say like, oh, just like a pivotal person in my life. She really, like, the opportunities that she gave to me helped shape my career. She's always been willing to recommend me. We've been close friends for some time. And even when I was going through different struggles and she knew nothing about them in like my personal life, she showed up for me without even knowing. And so when I think about my pregnancy experience, what I would want it to look like with my ideal manager, I think of her. And I think of the way that she would show up for me. And so I'm going to share that with all of you because I think it's just so liberating to hear. And I know that these things that I'm about to say would be true for her if she were my manager and leader now. And gosh, I am crying. She's since actually chosen to leave corporate because of her experience with essentially the corporate environment and figuring out that it wasn't a place that aligned with her values. And she was bold enough to step away and create a portfolio career for herself, which is super inspiring. Yeah, she's just really cool. But here's what that experience would look like. I know in my heart it would and should and can and will look like. So I'm just going to walk you through as if it's like present day me. Let's just talk about it because that's how you manifest things, right? It's like as if you are doing it. So I'm pregnant. I'm so thrilled and so excited and just, gosh, I'm like beaming. Year to year, we have wanted to welcome a new child into our family. And really, this is just such a pivotal moment for us as a family and such a blessing. And I have no reservations about telling my manager and my leader because she's been an amazing mentor to me. Also, I just want to pause too and say it could be a she or a he. It could be either, but in this case, I'm thinking about her. And she, even though she has different life experiences than me, she fully supports my human experience and what I'm going through and what I need to be my best self, even outside of work. And that is so liberating. And so I'm not scared. Within a few weeks, I tell her that I'm pregnant. I don't have to wait until my first trimester is over to make sure that it's for sure, to make sure that I'm safe. And I don't have to wait till I'm into my second trimester if it's an unsupportive workplace, because I know right away that she's going to give me the support and the resources that I need to be successful. And we're sitting in a one-on-one and she's just, gosh, we've chosen to actually go get lunch for our one-on-one. And she just pauses, stands up and gives me the biggest hug. And we're both crying and smiling and so happy because we've seen each other grow over the years. And then she asked me what my ideal life looks like for the next few months, like what I need from her in terms of pregnancy support. And I tell her, there's going to be some occasional appointments that I go to, and overall I'm healthy and baby's healthy, and I don't anticipate, anything majorly affecting my schedule, but there will be some blocks on my calendar, and she's fully receptive to that and fully supportive. I already have blocks for preschool pickup and drop off and different activities that pop up from time to time. And so that's a normal thing. And as we navigate pregnancy, like as I, navigate my pregnancy and we navigate this time where I will be taking a leave, I just tell her, it would really help me if we could maybe extend our one-on-ones another 15 minutes or so, and devote a specific agenda item in our one-on-ones to checking in on how I'm doing with my pregnancy and my leave plan, and making sure that we're aligned. And if I have any questions that pop up, that's a really important thing to me, since this is gonna, it's a change that's happening that's going to affect us. And she's fully supportive of that. In fact, it's the first thing that we talk about in our one-on-ones. And I'm always so excited to share with her how things are going. And she opens it up. But if I don't have any updates or I don't need to share anything, then there's no pressure to. And I love that. I'm fully communicative with her about any appointments that I have and how I'm feeling. And we design our leave plan together. And I say ours because she's fully invested in my leave plan too. There's 6 months of fully paid leave. And after that, there's a return to work schedule that is a build-up. So I will slowly start taking back on projects, and I have the opportunity to be paid full-time, but partial time during the week for another period of 2 months after that. So really helpful as I'm navigating continuing breastfeeding and as I am ramping up, if you will. I also work in a remote environment, but there is occasional travel. And so just being mindful that I'm not forced or expected to travel until my breastfeeding journey is over. So I plan to breastfeed for a year. And so with that in mind, I won't be traveling for a year. If something comes up that's local, that's great. Or if it's a short distance away, I'm happy to consider that. But anything that's, requires a plane, I won't be doing, given past experiences where I've gotten mastitis or had pumping issues, or there hasn't been an adequate mother's room or space for me. That's something that she's fully supportive of as well. And she is willing to go on those trips for me or have someone sub in my place. And in the meantime, as we're discussing my leave plan, we also walk through different projects and responsibilities that I have, and we start to look at my role. And she helps me craft where I want to be when I get back. And it's actually really cool because as we're having these continued conversations, we realize that I am due for a promotion. And I get that promotion before I go on my leave, which is really incredible and worthwhile because I've been working towards this for quite some time. I'm qualified, I'm ready, and I'm excited to take on more responsibility. But with that in mind, knowing that there is a ramp time when I come back and that I'm preparing for it even before I leave. And so that's happening. And she's also an advocate for me along this process. She is offered to come to HR meetings with me if I'd like her to be in attendance. Some of them I feel like I could use her support on, especially like getting things moving. If like I have a meeting where I'm not clear on policies for insurance, and I'd like her to have HR be a little bit more clear. She comes to that meeting and pushes buttons where they need to be pushed so that there is more support and there are more resources given to me, and I have all of the information that I need. And then she also checks in with HR and just my leave plan to make sure that everything's in place and that my paychecks are still being paid while I'm gone. And I have a little checklist that I created, and we go through that together and make sure that we're aligned. And as my birth approaches, my leave approaches, we spend some quality time doing some activities of bonding. Like we go to a yoga class, we go on a walk with our dogs, and just talk about life because it's important to bond as friends outside of the office and support each other as women. And she talks to me about her career and shares a little bit about where she wants to go. And we feel excited for each other because we've seen each other grow. And it's just like a really supportive female relationship, which is a cool friendship to have because that's not always the case. Sometimes you feel like you're fighting or clawing against other women in the workplace, but she has always mentioned my name in meetings and always brought a seat to the table if I didn't have one. When I go on leave, she congratulates me and lets me know I have all the time in the world as far as, the leave plan is concerned. I should think of nothing work related, but if there is ever a question that pops up, that she's always here to loop me in on things and I'm never completely out of the loop. And also, she offers to come visit me and just check in to see how I'm doing and say hello to baby when I'm ready, respecting that for the first 4 to 6 weeks, we're not having anyone else come in outside of who's very near and dear, close to us with our immediate family. And as I'm on my leave, she checks in periodically about, once a month regularly, if with that cadence, just like to say hello, make sure I'm doing good, but offers a biweekly check-in if I need anything. She's here. Like I can, that's always on the table if I want to have it, but it's not like a standing meeting. It's just hey, like on Tuesdays every couple of weeks I'm going to shoot you a text and make sure that you're doing okay. This is just more out of like the line of being friends, but also it's like she wants me to know that she cares about me. And like on a monthly basis, she'll give me a little status report of how things are going at work, but with no expectation of any response or me to ask any questions. And then when I return from leave, it's really smooth. I'm excited to come back to work. I'm in a remote environment. And so she recognizes there's blocks that I have for breastfeeding and that I will be having the baby contact napping on me in meetings, and that's okay. And I also have my graduated like ramp return to work schedule, and as I'm taking on new projects with my role, and I'm working partially and working up to full time within 2 months. And then as that 2 month period hits and I'm at 8 months, I'm getting excited because there's a local office nearby, and I find out that the company has also launched in all of their offices. And as far as I'm concerned, like with travel that's coming up, they've launched on-site daycare and like a mini preschool experience, which is like really cool. This is for the littles, up to a few years of age until kindergarten, and just like a thrilling opportunity. So I can have the support and ease of knowing that when I come back and baby's old enough, about 18 months, that I'll have care if I'm ever on site or traveling. And there's a respect and mutual understanding, again, like I mentioned, for about 4 more months after my ramp up, that I'm still breastfeeding. And then, I feel pretty comfortable around that 1 year mark to start being open to travel. And so I start doing that, and I think it kind of expands from there, but there's just so much love and abundance and expansion available to me. And I just feel so welcomed and needed and trusted. And not to say that every manager and leader has to be a friend outside of work, but this person is. And they go the extra mile to make sure that I'm okay and that I'm seen and that I'm heard, I'm valued. And I think this would be like an ideal experience for me, having that reassurance before I leave that not only do I have a job, but I've been promoted, and on the leave, like that I'm looped in, but I have no requirements to contribute to anything. It's just like, hey, just so you know how things are going, so you're not completely in the dark when you're coming back. And I just feel full. So I recognize that there's maybe some missing details here of like, okay, well, how do you navigate every workplace conversation? How do you tell your colleagues, how do you apply for things? Like, what does all of this look like? Does your pay change? But this is what I'm envisioning now, that I need now, and that I could just totally blossom and flourish, and I want to provide to someone else. And so that would be like again, I'm just thinking, I think when we think about these experiences that we want to have and we envision them, a lot of times we think about people in our lives that have touched us in ways that are really just so genuine and thoughtful and caring. And so that's why I was like tearing up, because like I said, I've had great managers and leaders in the past, but this one particular person has just been different from everyone. And my husband likes to remind me, he's like, every kind of situation that you go into, you always think back to this person and compare them. And you can't do that because this person was like a unicorn. She's just so great. And I understand that. But I think that it's like her example has really shaped the way that I want to lead. And so I'm confident that I'll get that opportunity to support someone in that way, and through a pregnancy and birth experience. I have supported employees in other ways that she supported me, like through training and development and through advocating for better pay and resources for them. But Yeah, this in particular would be really cool. And so I'm just visualizing and sharing, and maybe this little visualization exercise, this reality check, this manifestation of sorts can help you get to thinking about what your ideal pregnancy experience would look like with your ideal manager and leader. Thanks for listening. That's a wrap on today's episode of Birth at Work. If our topic resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Connect with me on social or via email. Your experiences and questions help shape future episodes. Remember, you're not alone in this journey of balancing career and family. Every challenge you're facing, someone else has navigated too, and every victory you celebrate, big or small, deserves to be recognized. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review. It helps other working parents find these conversations when they need them the most. And if you know someone who could benefit from hearing these stories, please share this episode with them. Until next time, remember, you don't have to choose between your career dreams and your family dreams. You're already proving that every day. Thanks for listening to Birth at Work. I'm Chrislyn Powell, and I'll see you next time.